This is a slightly embarrassing confession. I'm a professional photographer, and I don't have, nor have I at any time in my life had, one of my images professionally printed and put on my wall in my own home. I suppose I'm a digital person. You know, I kind of embrace that whole digital revolution. I took pride in the fact that every time I move house, I don't have a box full of books because I have my Kindle, so I don't take them with. I don't have DVDs because I have Netflix and Amazon and whatever else. I don't have boxes full of CDs or records or tapes because I have Spotify. It's the same for my photography. Every photograph that I've ever taken exists only as a collection of pixels on a hard drive or a computer or on the internet somewhere. They don't exist physically in the real world. And just lately I've started to think to myself that maybe that's a shame. I suppose there's two reasons really that I haven't ever professionally printed things out and put them up at home. And the first reason is that I never really want to commit to an image I take. You know, I see my journey with photography so much as a progressive day by day. And I'm always thinking, even before I finish a shoot, I'm thinking about the mistakes and how I can do it better the next time. That to take any single image and to print it out feels like I'm immortalizing it. You know, I'm creating it, bringing it out to the physical world and saying, I stand by this image. And that's a difficult thing for a perfectionist to do. And then the second reason is probably because every time I do a shoot, straight away my motivation is, let me edit these images up and get them online because that's where people can see them and interact with them and hopefully appreciate them. There's definitely a motive about wanting them to be appreciated by the widest possible audience, which is why printing them for a very small audience that will visit my home physically in the real world is never really a priority. But I can hear how pathetic those excuses are, just like you can. So I decided to take 3 images which I shot from my recent Namibia trip, and I got hold of Genesis Imaging, who are a professional printing outfit here in London, not far from where I live, and I asked them if they would be gracious enough to let me come down and to print out these images and to get some advice about what photographers need to know when they're printing images for the first time.
Realistically, you've got to look at how you're going to produce your file. As I was saying to you earlier, you know, JPEGs are fine, TIFFs are fine, PNGs we can work with, not probably the best route, and various other, you know, PDFs we can work with, no problem. It's really, from your point of view, if you're going to view it with a profile on, you want really to be a JPEG or a TIFF. Because when you open it up in Photoshop or Lightroom or whichever, and you put profile, color profile that you're likely to use for the printer on it, then you can get a rendition of how it's going to be produced. So I would say if you had to cut it down to 2, I'd go JPEG or TIFF. Most machines, photographic machines, print in 8-bit. So you can send us the work in 16-bit, and it's good from the editing point of view or color editing point of view, but we will translate it into an 8-bit file in order to print. Epsons do print in 16-bit, and I have printed in 16-bit on Epsons before, but I find that if you could tell the difference between the 60 and the 8, you're a better man than I am going to get in. Yeah, I've printed out a number of tests for you on your images of the Himba. You know, as a photographer, if you are going to produce prints at any shape, at any time for exhibitions or to put on your wall or whatever reason, you need to kind of own it in the same way as you own your photography. You need to be able to express yourself through the print. Because what you're seeing on screen is one interpretation. When it comes onto a flat material, it takes on different characteristics, hence the various types of paper. So you can change the characteristic or how it's being viewed by whatever paper you use, whatever substrates you use, how you frame it, all the various, how you mount it, can have a effect on how the viewer will engage with your work. Well, yeah, the whole point of this exercise, as far as we're concerned, is yes, we may feel expensive by comparison to online service, but it is a different service. It's not a like for like. We're here to help you produce your work to be viewed in a scenario where you're trying to translate your feelings that you had when you took those pictures onto the wall, whether it be in exhibition form, whether it be... So we spend time with you. We'll do test prints, we'll talk through the possibilities, we'll suggest things when we've had a chat with you. If you want a particular feel, then we'll go, okay, maybe you should try this or this, because we have the experience. You know, most of the guys in here, we've been in existence 21 years now. Most of us have been in it since children, printing away merrily. Me personally, I've been doing it 40 years as of September. So we've been around the block a bit and seen a lot. So that's what you're buying into as a professional lab. You know, that's the guys, you know, that's what we are. So, and we still love it, even after all that time.
So there they are. I think the biggest surprise has been how forgiving printing is. When you look at something on a computer, I think you can get very, very stuck on the screen and zooming in at 400% on Photoshop and seeing all the imperfections as you go. And I had this fear that, you know, if I print these big, then those imperfections are going to be even more obvious and people are going to see the mistakes that I've made. But actually, something about it, because you've looked at it so close on the screen at the start, actually, you've already done the work, the detail work. So you've covered up the mistakes that you think you're going to make, and you've ironed out the creases, and that by the time it gets to this stage and you've actually put it on something physical, it just kind of snaps into focus almost. There's also something about having it as a physical item, you know, because most of our work just exists online in the digital world, and you know, it's pixels, it's on the internet, it's not a physical thing you can touch. And you know, I'm not pretentious enough to go around calling the photography work I do, you know, art, but that you can understand that when you print on something like this and you actually take the time to do it properly, and you come to people who know what they're doing, that once it is a physical thing, then you go, well, you know, I did fly across the world to get this shot, and I did, you know, drive into the desert and find these people and have to, you know, deal with sweltering heat and try and get shots in difficult situations, come back, edit all those up. And when it actually comes through this final stage, where it's a physical thing in your hand that actually exists, there is something about it that you might dare to call art. It's definitely been an eye-opening experience. My challenge to you is to treat yourself. Pick your favorite image you've ever shot, take it down to your local professional printing house and get them to bring that photograph physically into the real world for you and hang it pride of place in your home, and see if it makes you feel differently about the photographs you take.